So, because there was an incident where a lady came in when I was stocking and she asked me for the boxes from the pallets, the great big boxes. And initially I had told her yes, but that she'd have to come back in the morning once we're done because the boxes were clearly full. But when I went after she left, we agreed she'd come back around 6:30 when the store opened, and I couldn't find anyone around to ask them if that was okay, but I went ahead and told her, and I figured that I would find out in the middle of the night and then I would address it when she came in the morning. I just didn't, but I believe in just providing customer service because that's the community. It's a belonging that I remember. So anyways, when I did finally track Dre down and he told me, and I asked him about it, he said, no, I could be held liable for shrinkage or theft if I gave the box like that to the customer and then they put stuff in it and they left the store. And then I said, well, what about the people at the door? Aren't they going to check the box? And then they said they're supposed to, but they're not going to, so it would still fall back on me. So I thought about that throughout the night, and then I talked to Dominique was there that night. And Dominique said that I could give them the boxes. So then I was conflicted. I thought about it throughout the whole night. I was just trying to make sure that that was Dominique, but it was Dominique that was there that night. Because I went to him and because that night I had a conversation. Because I said, hey, have you seen Dominique? And then he was like, who? And then when I was talking to Dre initially, before the box conversation came up, and I said, Dre, I said, Dominique, the new coach. And then he was like, I don't answer to him. And he said, I answer to Kesey. So I was like, oh. So I was like, well, okay. I thought we all answer to all coaches, just like we all answer to all team leads. I wasn't really thinking it was a division between that, but okay. And so that's how that conversation took place between he and I. So then eventually I did catch up with Dominique, and I did tell him not only what Dre said, because I wanted to know, is that the truth? Am I not supposed to, do we only answer to certain, because there is a lot of confusion, especially when there's more than one coach on at the same time, and then they're each giving you different directives. You don't know which one to go with or against, because then you could get in trouble for insubordination or whatever, right? So, there was a lot of chiefs and not enough Indians in every single situation. Even within the workers, who at HBA, what started it was I was going too fast, and everybody was like, don't, because I was knocking out the brake packs and I was moving quickly. And then people were coming up to me telling me to slow down because they didn't want to have to zone at the end of the night. So I realized I was upsetting people, and I was trying to explain, I'm working out anxiety. I believe in transmuting pain into power. And I was working out anxiety. It wasn't me plus I was trying to keep up with the deadlines because we were given timelines of when to get things done. I was just really trying to do my best. And I wasn't trying to hurt anyone along the flow, especially employees. I'm a huge employee advocate. And that's the one thing every job can tell you, because that's where me and management would normally knuck and buck. Because I'm honest with it. And I know better. I know I've been around businessmen and women, leaders, teachers, religious leaders, community leaders. I've had a huge, wide range of teaching, of different leadership styles, structures, the rhyme behind the reasoning, and I know toxic. I know. So when I went and I told Dominique about it that night, there was then a situation that was orchestrated where Dre was trying to push everything narrative that we weren't working on the pallets when we got put into, me and another worker got put into apparel, which Kesey had already taken us out of that, and I was supposed to just stay in this stationery. And nobody told me that stationery and crafts was together initially. They just told me stationery. So I was only doing stationery, never knowing that I was not doing crafts. But it was a big deal that I even asked to go and that I was allowed to go. A lot of people did get mad on the floor. So let's hold that, because I want to go back. Damien, the guy that was the mod that was coming on to me pretty hardcore, he also, when I first started, he sat with me one time when we were talking in the break room, and he said that he saw Kesey checking out my butt. He saw it himself. But he told me that like after I started distancing myself from him. So I didn't take it seriously, because I thought he was just saying it because I was withdrawing my energy from him, because I was feeling uncomfortable. And I was trying not to make a issue out of it because I'm new. And I'm just wanting to work and belong. So I didn't think anything of it, but then after I got put into stationery, I realized, okay, I think a lot of people are probably assuming that this is what was going on. Now, the other thing was at night shift, when I first started, there were questions in the new hire training when they asked the HR lady if at night we're allowed to wear hoodies and athletic wear, because we aren't doing the normal work that the day shift do, and the store is pretty much closed throughout our entire shift. HR said technically, policy says we're not allowed to because of the store being open an hour before and after our shift, and also about the earbuds and stuff for music and stuff. But she did also say that it was up to the coaches, because maybe they do it differently, but it's not typically done in other stores. Well, once we got on the floor, that was a question that did come up, and the coaches told us that's fine because they know. And for me, I can just tell you, athletic wear, when I'm doing that type of work, it does something like on the neurological level. It helps me to feel safe and secure, to be able to move in a motion of speed and force without a fear of getting... It's like one less thing I have to worry about with PTSD when I know I have the flexibility to move easily. And something that does something with my skin where it feels, I don't know, it just has a safe feeling of being tightened up and held together. Yeah, maybe that's just a fat girl thing. I don't know. But, and we were told we could wear our headphones, our headsets and everything. And boy, let me tell you, with my headphones and my athletic wear, I am knocking pallets out. I'm knocking. Now, of course, it upsets people around me because they say I'm going too fast or whatever. So then I realized they were training me wrong so that I would eventually get in trouble, like overstocking shelves, because they were telling me all the no locations go on the shelf, or, yeah. So it became this thing, and I started to realize it, and I was like, okay, but I don't want to waste time. I want to meet my goals. I'm working out anxiety. I'm learning to be reunified into society after trauma. I'm learning to adjust and accept the disabilities, and maybe some of the damage is going to be permanent. And it's humiliating. Because I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I'm insightful. My discernment is on fleek. And my heart is still open. And I still love, despite everything. And so now I'm faced with moral injury, because you either have to do what the team around you is telling you to do because they want to have a different way of working. Because everybody's in that silent quitting phase. They don't care about legacy or family trees that they're destroying. And maybe it's because, they feel that Walmart has broken trust too. because with this leadership style, we're all being injured mentally, physically, spiritually. I had when I was in the stationery thing, and one of the shelves was coming loose, and I didn't notice it till I was fitting the stuff up in it. And now my thumb it like hurts, like, and if I let it sit for too long, like especially in here, it's a lot of pain. And then if you look, it doesn't, like this one I can, but it's like this one gets locked. It has like these moments it'll get locked up in there. And I just keep moving, it's like you just keep pushing because you're trying to do a good job. And it's like I don't stop and complain. And then I've learned I can't ask for help because everyone's upset. And then when I got put in stationery, it's like all of a sudden there were these, and I was like, oh, I don't know if it's the Damien thing, because if he said it to me, who's to say he didn't say it to anybody else? And so then I started to distance myself a little bit from Kesey and them, because I just figured I would only speak if I need to speak. I don't want to get caught up, because they were already coming to me with other gossips. They were coming, Josh, the other night worker, he was coming to me with things about employees giving head in cars in the parking lot during breaks, or in the break room, somebody asked somebody if they wanted to give them a head because it was only the two of them in there. He was telling me these different stories and these different things, and I told him, I said, they shouldn't, not at work, it's not this is horrible. I also told him I didn't want to be involved. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of gossip. I don't want to be in gossip. Then he told me that he had did some research on me, and that found I was connected to some DJ Max. Now, I am connected to a lot of DJs, producers, and engineers. That is the truth. That's the absolute truth. And there's some in the underground, and there's some in the mainstream. But what bothered me was, well, I don't know who Max is, by the way. But what bothered me was, why was anybody digging for personal information? And then you're calling Orlando asking about me. And I'm expressing that I'm in trauma recovery. So it's like you're opening a doorway that you don't know who my ex is, what they've done. And I've been trying to get out of this Gainesville mud, and my children seem to feel like they have to stay, and I'm struggling to maintain the ability to financially break away, and I'm still building my mental health. And then one of my twins, I haven't been able to get to him in time, and he was homeless, and I didn't know initially. I found out, but then I said, let me hurry up, I'm gonna do this. I was getting this place together for my daughter, and I'm trying to do this. And in the meantime of being played with my mental health, with the jobs like PNC Bank, and these are all on record, by the way, with EEOC, with their corporate offices, with their HR departments. I've got all this documentation. In PNC, it got to a point where in the training, one lady started attacking me and calling me Rachel Dozell. My name, my hair. She started calling me Rachel Dozell and attacking me in the training in front of 17 other employees. That was one of the final breaking points. And then they had me access a live account without the customer on the phone. And I knew that that's a risk. That's a violation. And anyways, it's that type of tactics that leaders, poor leaders, bad leaders, toxic leaders, abusive leaders will use when they want to get rid of a problem instead of fixing a problem. And so corporations, it's rare that they even hear the cases, because the managements will block them before they ever reach that level. So it was just weird to me how this ethics thing came about. And then another guy came around to me telling me he wasn't supposed to tell anybody, but somebody pulled him in and said he was a racist. And then, which he says a lot of things. But then he was making derogatory remarks against Dre about being a black ninja with red shoes on. And then I was like, does he know what the term means? And the thing was, the first time it was, I could see it, and it might have been funny, but the moment Dre was like, no, I don't like that, he's like, I don't care what you like, and he kept saying it. And then I spoke to Dre afterwards. I'm like, that's not okay though. If you say no, it should just end there. And then he said, yeah, but with him, we just accept it. And I understood that. I've been molded to just accept abuse, toxicity. But it was wrong. And if one of my children were to say that at one of their jobs and it continues, and they come and tell me, I wouldn't tell them to take it to HR. I would tell them to take it to the EEOC directly. I would tell them to take it to, start documenting, taking it to a lawyer. I would tell them to take it to the news. Because I know that HRs will block it and prevent it from getting through. But this was Walmart. I didn't understand this. So when I spoke about culture shock, this is the culture shock I'm talking about. So, because Damien had done that whenever I got the stationery spot, I started to be like, oh shit, like this is gonna, I didn't, I put it in the back of my mind, but what bothered me is that I'm celibate. I regained something that was raped and taken from me from my earliest memory of 5. And it took me a really hard time to release that attachment to intimacy and sex in those manners. And so I've restored that. So to have that slandered, or even that integrity even to be touched, is a huge violation. But I held on to it because, again, I'm new and I'm not trying to create these situations for me, because the moment you start speaking out, then they mark you as the bad guy, bad person, the trouble starter, the problem in the situation. And then other people treat you funny. Guys don't want to say anything out of fear that you're gonna yell rape or yell sexual harassment. And it's because nobody wants to look at it and say, no, that's not right. And if that was my mother, or if that was my daughter or my sister who I love in that same compromising position. So then you look at the situation, you realize nobody's speaking up, and you're like, this is okay? So do you guys even love your mothers? So, and the reason I chose the stationery area, because I figured, one, it's in the center part of the store, and for some reason that made me feel safer. The other thing is that it was connected to creativity, and that also is very therapeutic, and it helps me in very stressful situations. So with all this going on, it was just all about me finding a balance of work life and mental health, and still give my best to Walmart and my job and the customers. And so then when Dominique came into the situation out of nowhere in this particular night, and he's all of a sudden this new coach, and I didn't even know they were hiring for a new coach, but they were, and so now it's all men coach, by the way. And at first he seemed like he really cared, and when this Dre thing happened, Dre was trying to say that me and another worker weren't working the pallet, and that we could have crammed it and made it fit. And I was like, yeah, but it's in apparel, and it's on that thing, so like the alarm, and if it sticks out for too long, and if it happens to catch it, that alarm could go off throughout the night, because then you overstocked it. And I was like, and it's different than HBA, and everybody was saying just load HBA because it's different and yada yada yada, it's like grocery, but apparel wasn't supposed to be that way. It's confusing is what I'm trying to tell you, because nobody trains consistently, and nobody really trains. They just put you in that department, they say here, and then again you can't get the scanner. Well, that night Dominique did give me the scanner, but then I also got pulled in creatively into a conversation with Mary, this new store lead. Sorry. She came in that morning, and then all of a sudden there was conversation about because Dominique, made a big thing, make it a conversation about us wearing athletic wear and the headphones. And then I was like, well, I don't understand, like, that it is really effective for all of us who do actually use it or wear it, or, I mean, we stay pretty busy and we work. I mean, it always seems like nothing, like we always have more work than workers, but I don't know. I get locked into my zone and I really don't pay a lot of attention. I try to just get my job done. So anyways, that whole night, it was almost like, it almost felt like the situation was orchestrated just so Dominique could see my limits or how I would handle a situation, because before that happened, he also said he was going to meet with each of us individually as a new coach, which no coach has ever done that. But so the way that was orchestrated, it was like he was waiting, and then he gives me this scanner, and then he's towards the end of the night, he's he's complimenting my hair. He's, you know, saying how I'm one of the best ones, how I'm this and that. And I'm just like, it was love bombing for sure in the beginning. And I was like, okay, my guard went up. But I have a scanner, I have a tool. And boy. But because of the Dre situation, I came back to the store the next morning to talk to Mary and Lucy. Because I was like, okay, I'm being bounced around still everywhere. I wasn't being left in stationary because there were other people, I guess, that were now upset that I was in stationary, and maybe they wanted stationary, or I don't know. But there was an issue, and I was still being bounced around, and I didn't mind it initially. It was hard without the scanner, but once I got the scanner, I was more okay with it because I was able to be more efficient, and but then I noticed that Gyro would want to pull me over, and then I'm just like doing, you know, 1, 2 aisles, whatever, and I'm clearing the pallets. They're telling me, clear it all the way off. Don't leave no overstock, don't leave nothing. So I'm cramming, I'm making everything fit. But then I'm noticing how Gyro is with the female worker and all this other stuff, and that he's spending a lot of time being cool, being the sneaky link for this or that, or on the phone, going outside. You know, it was just random shit. And it was so unproductive. And then when a coach would come through or anyone would come through, he would all of a sudden act like he's working and trying to get it all. And then he would be like he's rushing at the last minute. And yeah, because he wastes a lot of time in between. And then I realized that with me clearing pallets and doing all this massive work, it was like, yeah, he can get away with it. And then I was like, yo, wait a minute. Now I'm becoming a part of this problem of the lack of accountability and the leadership. Because Gyro has never helped me with anything when I've asked him. When I was asking about the points issue, when I was asking, he's never helped me with anything. He's actually been rude to me on several occasions leading up. So, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm breaking my back for him to look good as a team lead. And then when we're in these meetings, they talk about the team leads and stuff. They blame stuff on the workers. And I'm like, no, we're really out here busting our ass. I understand why they want me to slow down, because they're already overworked and underpaid. $15.50 an hour is not a livable wage. I'm sorry. So, I began speaking up, telling the coaches. I told Patrick about it. Hold on.